Are you a high achieving woman feeling exhausted just thinking about starting your own business? What if the very skills that made you successful in your corporate career are actually setting you up for burnout as an entrepreneur? Today's guest reveals why smart women struggle in their first year of business and the simple systems that can change everything. Welcome back to another inspiring episode of the Shift Show with M&M. I am your host, Marie-Jo César, and today I'm holding down the fort while my amazing co-host, Megan, is preparing for our upcoming episodes. As many of you know from our first two episodes, we are dedicated to helping professional women navigate career transitions with confidence and purpose. Today, for our third episode, I am thrilled to welcome Chantay Jennings, a brilliant systems strategist and founder of Virtual Partners Plus. With over a decade of experience, Chantay specializes in helping high achieving women transition from corporate careers to entrepreneurship by designing streamlined, scalable systems that support sustainable growth and work life harmony. I am particularly excited to share that Chantay and I have formed a special partnership to assist laid off federal workers and other women looking to transition from traditional careers into entrepreneurship. This partnership aligns perfectly with our mission here at the Shift Show, where we focus specifically on supporting these career transitions. Together, we are combining my financial wellness strategies with Chantay's systems expertise to make this challenging transition smoother and more sustainable for women ready to build their own businesses. Chantay is known for mentoring midlife women as they build service based businesses with clarity, structure, and confidence, equipping them to move from overwhelmed to ownership in every area of their lives. Her approach perfectly complements what Megan and I strive for with the Shift Show, as we understand that successful career transitions require holistic systems that honor both financial goals and personal well being. Today, Chantay will be sharing insight on her topic: Build Before You Burn Out, simple systems that support your first year in business. She will reveal the real reasons smart women burn out in the first year, what to systemize first, even if you don't feel ready, and her anti productivity plan that focuses on energy, not just efficiency. Chantay, it's an absolute pleasure to have you on the show today. Welcome to the Shift Show with M&M. I am so excited to dive into this conversation because burnout is something many of my clients face when balancing their financial goals with their growing businesses. Your expertise in systems is exactly what our audience needs. So before we get into the specific strategies, I'd love to start with the mindset piece. Many of our listeners are successful professionals considering entrepreneurship. What's the biggest misconception they might have about transitioning from corporate to running their own business?
Well, the biggest is the idea that just working harder using the same skills and approaches you've been using in corporate are going to work. In reality, running a business is very different and it's a totally different operating system. I mean, in corporate, your value comes from execution excellence. They tell you what to do within clear structures, they set the goals, and the resources are provided for you. In business, you're going to create those structures. You're going to be simultaneously building that business out, managing cash flow, and developing all the products. Very, very different. And those skills that made you successful over there in corporate, being perfect, following the rules, seeking approval, they'll hold you back as an entrepreneur, or they can hold you back.
That is such an important misconception to address. Speaking of corporate experience, You've mentioned something that really surprised me. Women's professional experience might actually work against her in entrepreneurship. So, can you explain what you mean by that?
Well, in corporate, we're kind of trained, especially women, to pursue the excellence. They encourage perfectionism, and you got to follow the rules, and you got to be people pleasing. You want everybody to be happy, and you're waiting for this approval. You get that rewarded in corporate, but that is going to limit you very severely as an entrepreneur because you're going to have to launch when stuff is not perfect. Things are going to break, and you're going to have to make some new rules. And you're going to have to take action even though you don't have all the answers or all the resources. So you will come to define your own method of success there.
Yeah, that is fascinating. Previous training can sometimes be a double edged sword, right?
Hmm.
Beyond our professional background, I think many women are also influenced by what they see online. We often see glossy Instagram posts about building a business that make it look effortless. So, what are some of the common myths about entrepreneurship that lead to burnout?
Well, a couple of the common ones that I consider to be quite dangerous are that hustle is necessary. I am allergic to hustle, and that if I just work harder, success will follow. You have to be strategic, not just more hours. And successful entrepreneurs do everything themselves, avoiding delegation altogether. And the most dangerous one is this quick success is normal for people. No, those are the ones that I hear the most.
You are so right on that one.
Hmm.
Because, yes, as a former corporate person, you do have some skill set that would help you as you become an entrepreneur.
Hmm.
But it is not kind of add water and bake.
No, you're
That
not.
doesn't work like that. So those myths can really set unrealistic expectations. What specific mindset shift do women need to make when transitioning from employee to entrepreneur, especially regarding how they structure their work and
Hmm.
measure success?
Well, a couple of things to consider are when you're transitioning, maybe you're still working and you're building out that business, you're going to have to kind of put on your entrepreneur hat and take that employee hat off and start to move from seeking approval to trusting your judgment, from moving from perfectionism to this is good enough to launch, and then moving from having work assigned to strategic prioritization. That's a big one. And one of the biggest shifts, viewing failure as a negative to seeing it as a valuable idea or a piece of data for yourself. Those are some very important shifts that you're going to have to consider to make from moving from corporate employee to entrepreneur.
Yeah, I have myself transitioned from being in corporate to being an entrepreneur. I can tell you, this experience really humbles you.
Hmm.
For our listeners who might be in the early stages of this transition, how can someone recognize early signs of burnout before it becomes debilitating? And what's the first step they should take when they notice these signs?
Well, a couple of the signs could be you're dreading the work you once enjoyed. If you're doing this and you're just all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, I gotta do this. That's one symptom. Physical symptoms like fatigue, headaches, just you can't sleep, and difficulty making simple decisions. Now, experienced that right in the middle when I was getting ready to transition from what I was doing in my business, and I realized it was time to make some changes. I couldn't make simple decisions. I was just or withdrawal from your support networks. You don't feel connected because you just don't want to be bothered. And the
Right.
first step is noticing those signs and giving yourself some space to just by reducing your workload and all your commitments. That will give you some time and space to work on that.
Right. These are some very great pieces of advice that you're giving here. So, as I said, you've given us such valuable insights, I would say, into why burnout happens and how our mindset plays such an important role. I'd love to shift our conversation to something more tactical now. So, you talked about the importance of systems, which is something I believe goes hand in hand with financial
Mhm.
wellness. So, let's dive into what systems women should prioritize when starting their business journey.
So, in your business journey, you want to identify the three areas, which one is client onboarding. That will set the tone for the impression you give about your business, your scheduling, and your communication. Those are the three core areas to systemize first.
Can you repeat that? Because I just want the listeners to get it. So,
Mhm.
you mentioned three.
Client onboarding, because it's going to set the tone for your
Mhm.
professionalism and your clarity. You want
Right.
your clients to be onboarded as if they are the VIPs that they are. And you
Hmm.
also want to set them up for success. Your
Right.
scheduling, it will save you from that back and forth chaos with the, oh, give me your schedule. No, I'll send you an email. That wastes time. A
Right.
scheduling system and communication with your
Communication.
clients and internally if you have a team. That will keep things moving and it'll help build trust. And those areas all impact the client experience, which is at the core for everything you're going to do and for your peace of mind.
These are the three core principles that you must keep top of mind, really.
Hmm.
Client,
If you don't,
client onboarding, scheduling, and communication.
if you
Now,
don't do any other systems, those are going to be done no matter what.
yeah. So many new entrepreneurs feel overwhelmed by the idea of creating system, and you mentioned three here, right?
Hmm.
If someone is just starting out and feeling that, you know what, I'm not ready for systems, what would you say to them?
I'd say you're probably already using systems. Most people don't understand that a process in your business, you're probably already using a system. You're not even aware.
Yeah.
Every time you send an email, you set a meeting, deliver a service, you're following a process. The key is to stop starting from scratch every time you do the process. Systems aren't for later. They're for how you create more time for yourself right now and avoid that burnout for later.
Right. That's really reassuring to hear that we
Hmm.
don't need to be ready to start
Mm-mm.
implementing system,
No.
right? You identify three core areas to systemize, right? As you
Hmm.
said, and I keep on repeating that because they are core, having been through
Hmm.
it. So the client onboarding, the scheduling, and the communication. Why are these particular areas so important? I would say even more than important, critical for
Hmm.
new business owners.
Because at the beginning, you don't have a lot of time to do everything. The only thing that matters is your client and making the work that you do for them flow easily and simply. Client onboarding does that. You have a process, and once you set that process up, it continues to work on its own. The same can be said for scheduling. You don't have time to be constantly trying to figure out your timing. You won't need to by setting up a system. Communication goes without saying. That's very important in your business for yourself, for your clients, for your team.
I can see why those three areas create such a foundation. Could you walk us through what an effective client onboarding system looks like, especially
Mhm.
for someone who might be used to the corporate processes?
Mhm. It's Think of it like a little mini journey for your client. When they agree to work with you and they pay their invoice, what do they need to feel supported and feel successful? What are those things they're going to need? First, they're going to need a welcome email saying, oh, we're glad to have you here. These are the things you need to do next. And it'll trigger and automatically send to them upon payment. You won't have to do anything. Onboarding forms. You can collect key info, especially if you're a done for you service. You'll collect info, their goals, their preferences, their accounts, those information that you're going to need to start work for them, a calendar link, and it'll let them book their first session with you without this back and forth of sending everybody's schedule to everybody else. And an intro guide or a video. I find the videos to be just so helpful to have a short walkthrough of what to expect. People want to know that the process is they're ready for the process and that you're ready to receive them. And a quick intro guide or video will help them feel that way.
Yeah.
One more project management tool to kind of track for how you interact with the client. That
Mhm.
doesn't have to happen, but it's absolutely an extra that would definitely help.
Well, I mean, the way that you laid it out makes the onboarding process sound much more manageable because you understand exactly why you are
Hmm.
doing it. So now, for women who might be intimidated by technology, what are some of your favorite, I would say, easy win
Hmm.
automation tools that can save entrepreneurs significant time each week without requiring technical expertise?
Oh, these are my hands down my favorites to send to clients. Calendly automates appointment scheduling and reminders. It has some automation pieces to it that are fabulous. Loom, whenever you need to send a message to someone or an explainer video, rather than have a long email, you can just walk through the process on a Loom video. It just records your screen, simple to use. Click a button. Canva is amazing for branding, social posts, proposals, simple to use. And Zapier to connect all these tools that don't play together. You can use Zapier to connect those tools. Even using one of these tools consistently can save you hours of work, especially the Zapier and the Calendly.
These are different tools, right? So
Mhm.
Calendly is to book your appointment. Loom is to
Share
create,
screen, create videos that you
right,
show where
create
you're
video,
sharing your screen, what you're doing. That'll save you from sending emails to people. Yeah.
right. And
Mhm.
Canva, of course, that's a jewel. It's so fancy, right? Remember when I first started using Canva years ago, it was just create your images and they'll look the way that you want them to look. Now they are AI powered. Now you can
Mhm.
do so many things. It's no longer just images. You could do presentation. You could do, oh my God, it's a host of stuff. Create images.
Mhm.
I mean, you name it.
Social posts, they're getting
Yep, that's
fancy.
right.
They've got
They,
so many fancy.
you could automate all your posting
Mhm.
scheduling. And Zapier really is a glue that glue them together, right?
Mhm.
Explain what the role of Zapier is, what Zapier would do, how would that help an entrepreneur?
So when you have these different tools that need to work together in your business, they may not naturally connect to each other. By bringing in Zapier, you can use these tools together, and one will like we'll have an example like Calendly. If somebody books a call with you in Calendly, you can have that information go to a spreadsheet. You can have it go to your email marketing tool by using Zapier to connect the two. They may not naturally connect. Calendly may have nothing to do with Email Octopus, the software, but Zapier in between will connect that these people sign up for the booking appointment will be added to your list because they're signing up to be added to that list in Email Octopus or Mailer Lite or whoever you use. That is like the bridge between those different tools. And it's a
Okay.
simple bridge to set up too.
Right. So that's important because there are some great tools out here, but they work a lot better if they are synchronized, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
They
Absolutely.
and there are many, many others, I'm sure,
Mhm.
could assist and take away hours of work. Otherwise, you would have to manually enter things in a
Hmm.
spreadsheet, and with that comes potential mistake, particularly when you record somebody's email, contact information.
Oh,
So,
yes, yes.
so you would want to
Hmm.
leverage technology and automation.
Mm-hmm.
So as you said, these tools sounds like game changers, and they're getting greater and better by the day with the advent of AI. So for our listeners who are balancing their business with other responsibilities like full-time jobs or family care,
Mm-hmm.
which systems create the biggest impact with
Mm-hmm.
the least ongoing maintenance?
Hmm. Well, for one, you want to choose the set it and forget it system. Some of these systems and automations, you can set them up, but you will be maintaining them. But the most important ones, you can set it and forget it and prioritize email templates. That's one pre-written written emails that you have for FAQs or proposals that don't have to be different every time you send them out. Automated booking, you can have one link and not have all that coordination drama, and content batching and scheduling.
Mm.
Tools like Buffer, hours you can be that can be saved. These things can just you set it up one time, you can set up the whole month and not touch your social again after. Well, you should, but
Right.
you don't have to. But onboarding automation for me, looking at work with clients, onboarding automation has saved the most amount of time. And we set that up one time and they don't have to touch it again. So the system that handles the first steps of people entering your business
Yeah,
without your involvement, biggest impact.
great. Yes, you want to have your side hustle, or yes, you want to be quote unquote independent. I can make my own hours. But this comes with a, I would say, for lack of a better term, a price. Okay. But once you understand which one to link together and what each one could do for you to facilitate your processes, that's key. And that's where having someone like you guiding people and putting the puzzle together could be very important and necessary. So these practical systems are exactly what our audience needs. But I know systems alone are not enough without a sustainable approach to productivity. This is where your anti hustle productivity plan comes in, which I find particularly refreshing in today's hustle culture. So let's explore how we can work smarter, not harder. All right. So
Mhm.
the hustle culture is everywhere in entrepreneurship. How does your anti hustle productivity plan differ from what we typically see promoted?
Well, it rejects hustle culture because it's not required. Smarter and hard versus smarter and working smarter, not harder, is simpler than any amount of hustle and grind. And our approach prioritizes strategic impact over visible busyness. We're encouraged to be busy, busy, busy all the time. But are you being actually productive? Being strategic is far more important. Centering sustainability. We can do all this stuff, but can we sustain it? Having these short term output spikes, that is another thing that leads to burnout. And it acknowledges that creativity and insight do need space and rest, and
Absolutely.
valuing quality work over quantity of hours. Quality of work is far more important.
I totally understand that. I love this different perspective on productivity. So you mentioned that time blocking is not enough, right? And I swear by time blocking.
We, I do too, until
So
I don't.
what are the limitations of time blocking alone, and how
Well,
can we move beyond it?
well, I like time blocking. It just allows me to be structured. But some of the limitations, it treats all the hours as equal. When we know our energy and our focus fluctuates all day, it doesn't account for the different energy requirements that certain tasks have. And it helps us to create unrealistic expectations about how much I can fit into a day. It doesn't separate deep work versus admin tasks. And when we know deep work is very different from admin, and it can increase anxiety when disruptions occur.
Yeah. I guess it's all about strategy, as you mentioned, like, and yes, it doesn't discriminate, right? So time is time. That you block it, you still have 24 hours in your day, and I have 24 hours in my day. So it's all based on how we use that time, and I
Hmm.
remember someone telling me, you can't manage time. You could manage how you use the time because,
Hmm.
time is static, 24 hours. You can't change
Hmm.
that. It's how you use it. That's what you could manage. So that's a more nuanced approach to managing our days, right? I am fascinated by your focus on structuring days for energy rather than just efficiency. And
Hmm.
I hear you. Different tasks require different type of energy. So can you explain how energy management differs from time management?
Well, I have always been that time blocking person, and when at that period where I felt like I was riding into the burnout zone, I had to stop and figure that out. And I realized it was just the amount of energy throughout the day that I have. It would have been flow, and I would still have the same amount of stuff, and I would be, frustrated with why it didn't work out that way. So mapping your personal energy patterns first and then scheduling based on that. I used to be doing stuff until late into the night, but when I mapped my energy, I realized like 6:30, 7 o'clock, I'm high energy. I don't want to
Mhm.
talk to anybody, but I'm high energy to get things done.
Right.
So I had to start categorizing it based on my energy levels. And midday, I had another separate energy level. And then later in the day, it went down, but I had a surge and I had to kind of gauge my task based on that. So you will be categorizing your task based on your energy type. Is it creative energy, analytical, administrative? I thought I wasn't a creative person because I could never feel like I was doing anything creative. It turned out I was just trying at the wrong time of day to be creative.
In
Hmm.
saying, oh, I'm a morning person or I'm an evening person and whatever, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, okay. I'm feeling you now. So energy management make so much sense when you explain it that way.
Hmm.
So what role does rest play in your productivity framework? And how do you help high achievers give themselves permission to incorporate it?
Well, for one thing, not seeing it as the absence of work, because it's an active ingredient in any productivity. It helps us to be more clear in our quality of thinking, have more creativity. But in this framework, the rest is a strategic productivity tool. It's not a reward. You don't get to rest after you're exhausted. It's a productivity tool. It's essential for cognitive processing or in general, just for your creativity. And it's necessary for sustainable high performance. The thing is to be sustainable. We can all have spurts where we work all, 23 hours a day, but is that sustainable? Absolutely not. And this can be the foundation for your creative breakthrough.
I think as you grow
Hmm.
older,
Hmm.
you realize that, oh my God, I wish I had known that when I was in my 20s and my 30s, and the way that I wasted my time. And I remember I used to say when I was at the peak of my life, I got plenty of time to sleep when I'm dead, right?
Oh, I
And
know, I
not
know.
understanding, precipitating that death. I'm totally
Hmm.
with you. And now, when you get a certain age, you kind of say 9 o'clock, that's it.
Yeah.
But you remember when you were in your 20s and 30s, 9 o'clock, that's when you were getting ready to go out at 9 o'clock.
Hmm. Getting ready to go out and come back home like 3 o'clock in the morning.
Rest as a strategic advantage. That's such a powerful reframe. It's
Hmm.
one of your tools in your toolbox. Yes, you gotta use your
Absolutely.
rest, right? So
Hmm.
for our listeners who want to implement your anti-hustle productivity plan right away, what is one practice they could start tomorrow that would have the biggest positive impact?
I would say to track your energy, an energy audit for 1 week, every 90 minutes. Stop what you're doing during your waking hours. You're going to be noting what you're doing, what you're eating, who you were with, because what this does, it creates the awareness of how you feel during those times. And it'll reveal what activities drain you or people drain you and what energizes you. And you'll get to see the windows for what type of work by doing that for a week. I mean, it opened my eyes when I started doing it. I was like, whoa, my schedule should be totally flipped the other way. And it
So,
shows you about nutrition and the impact of movement. We underestimate how much nutrition and getting exercise or walks and rest and how it impacts us. We underestimate that.
you're totally right on that because we are so passionate about what we're doing. And we think that I got to finish this and I got to do that. And before you know it, you could have been out taking a walk in nature
Hmm.
or something like that, or just taking a nap. So I take
Hmm.
that you are probably a nap taking person. Is that correct?
Absolutely. Absolutely. One thing I think that we do ourselves a injustice when we say that we love what we're doing, so we don't mind working the long hours. Because that was me too. I love the work, but that will also lead us to burnout. We can love it all day, but we still need to love and embrace that rest and giving ourselves that time for that too.
Looking back in corporate, doing your 9 to 5, how do you match that energy concept that you're talking about?
You actually have to just decide what's really important to you for one thing. Is this really important? And actually, when you do that audit on your energy, do the audit on the things you're doing during that time as well. Because some of the things we're doing, we probably don't need to be doing. So I did that audit first. But
Mhm.
maximizing the time in corporate, I just took advantage of all the little nooks and crannies of trying to be strategic because in the end, you actually can do this on 5 to 10 hours or less
Mhm.
by being strategic. By getting control of your energy, it's going to make a huge difference in how you
Wow.
feel as well.
Yeah. These insight are absolute gold. They are simple, yet again, so
Mhm.
important and vital to live a harmonious life. I know our listeners are walking away with practical systems and completely different perspective on productivity. All right. So thank you for breaking down these critical areas for our listeners. And what really resonates with me is how your approach aligns so perfectly with our mission here on the Shift Show. You've taken us on a journey from understanding the real reason smart women burn out in their first year of business by challenging those corporate to entrepreneur mindset shifts and common myths that hold us back, to providing practical guidance on the essential systems we should prioritize first, even when we don't feel ready. And finally, your anti hustle productivity plan offers such a, I would say, refreshing perspective on structuring our days for energy rather than efficiency. And what I love most about your approach is that it's not about working harder or doing more. It's about working smarter with systems that support both our business growth and our well being. So that's exactly what we aim to provide on the Shift Show, strategies that serve your whole life, not just your bottom line. So before we wrap up, I want to encourage everyone listening to take action on what we've learned today. First, take a moment this week to honestly assess where you might be heading toward burnout. Notice those warning signs Chantay mentioned and give yourself permission to pause and recalibrate. Now, choose one system to implement from the three core areas Chantay discussed, whether that's onboarding, scheduling, or communication. All right, so start small, but start somewhere. Review your calendar for next week and try structuring at least one day according to the anti-hustle productivity plan, focusing on your energy flows rather than just time blocks. And if you find value in today's episode, please share it with another woman who might be in position of considering entrepreneurship. We rise by lifting others. And finally, subscribe to the Shift Show with Eminem so you don't miss our upcoming episodes on navigating transitions with confidence and purpose. Chantay, I know our listeners will want to learn more about your work and possibly engage your services. So, could you share how people can connect with you and what the first step would be for someone who is ready to implement these systems in their business but might need some guidance?
Well, we have a strategy call with a link to that, but you can check out our YouTube channel for Productivity Playbook, where we try to make the systems a lot simpler for you, where we just discuss where you are, and I make some suggestions of what your first step could be for systems, because you want to start small. It may be messy, but one step at a time, where you can start very small with your systems and make progress.
Thank you for that. And I will definitely have Shantae's contact information in the show notes. So you will be able to reach out to her. And can you very quickly tell us if someone wanted to get a hold of you right now, what should they do? Where should they contact you?
Um, hmm. My website, virtualpartnersplus.com. You could go there and I have a booking scheduler there as well.
Virtual partner
Plus,
plus the sign.
oh no, plus PLUS. Yeah, three
Dot
words. Virtual partners plus. Yeah,
plus.com. Thank you for that, Shante. I want to express my deepest gratitude for sharing your expertise with our audience today. That is needed because of the economy and what's going
thank you
on.
for me. Hmm.
Your insight on preventing burnout, implementing essential systems, and embracing an anti-hustle approach to productivity are truly
Hmm.
invaluable for our listeners who are navigating their entrepreneurial journeys while seeking financial wellness. So, thank you for bringing such practical wisdom and genuine care to our conversation. To our wonderful
Okay.
listeners, remember that implementing even one small system from today's discussion can create ripple effects of positive change in both your business and personal life. So, if Shantae's message resonated with you, be sure to check out her website. Okay. And she mentioned virtualpartnersplus.com and connect with her on LinkedIn. Remember, where there is a shift, there is a way. Until next time, I am Noriju Caesar with the Shift Show. Thank you, Shanti.
You're welcome.